Greetings, greetings. I hope you're all well. Hello, hello. Da-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee. It is that time of the day, that time of the week. I hope you're well. Grab your tea, grab your beverage, your writing utensils, whatever it is that you need. We're going to get into our chats, our talks. And as we're waiting for you all to show up, you can go ahead if you're already here, type in the comments, let me know where you are tuning in from. It's a pleasure to see you. Thank you for joining me. I'm on Instagram Live as well as on YouTube Live, streaming on these platforms, getting familiar with you all again, refamiliarizing myself. Well, today I wanted to have a conversation moving on, talking about the process of rebirth and just contribute to that conversation now. We discussed, initially we started talking about setting up your baseline standards of health, right? Understanding, okay, well, you're in a transition phase, you're moving from one thing to another, one season to another, relationship to another. You're moving from one, work opportunity or something of the nature, or you're in between, right? About to, already in, or preparing to come out of. Now, I always like to suggest to people to understand what your baseline standard of health is, because once you have that understanding, then you can, deal with those moments of feeling out of proportion, off equilibrium, out of balance. When you feel as though things are not going your way, as though you're not functioning optimally, you can't quite figure out what's going on. You have this, baseline to say, okay, this is what I know I can, I have, or I can do, or who I am, or what I've been doing. And when I do this, it helps me to feel in alignment. And also recognizing that this changes. Your baseline standards of health changes, and you yourself should be able to ideally adapt and move with it, right? Because that's the whole point. The process of us being here, the process of living, being here, is about evolution. You're constantly growing, constantly changing, constantly moving up and on, right? So once you have figured out your baseline standards of health, the next thing I was suggesting that you all do, or that we all do, that I think is very beneficial, is to find out what you need in terms of rest. Rest is counterintuitive in our community today, because we have been conditioned to a calendar of greed and war, 24 hours in a day, 60 minutes in an hour. And, this 24-hour schedule here, this calendar that we have, was created for the purpose of capitalism, right? That is its purpose. If you go deeper into it, it's governed by that whole idea of the straw man, and all these different things. Maybe you don't, but there's so many different things that we are under. The guys that we are under, and we have the impression, many of us are under the impression, that getting as much done all the time is the best way to approach your goals. And that's actually very counterintuitive, especially if you're a woman. Well, my little lamp is gone there. But especially if you're a womb carrier, right? And you are someone who pushes and forces and tries to get things done, and feels as though you can accomplish a lot in a great amount of time, in a small amount of time. These things actually affect the quality of your effectiveness, the quality of your work, because it's really about your rest, how full you are, how rejuvenated you are, how rested, how well put together you are, rassasié you are. That will determine how you execute, right? Are you full, rested, and alert enough to move when it's time to go, right? Are you the first one out the block? Are you fumbling? Are you the last one? Did you trip, right? How does that look for you? And then as you're executing, right, are you on point? Are you on par? Are you ahead of the game? Are you falling behind? Are you, mediocre? Are you, how are you testing, right? How are your results when you go out and you create um, your world every day, doing what you do, interacting with people, places, things, and you receive information, you get data back. What is that data telling you? How effective are you in whatever it is that you're doing? And do you need to reevaluate your baseline standards? And while you're evaluating your baseline standards, are you taking the time that's needed to reevaluate? Because sometimes it's just a quick 1, 2, 3, let's go. But taking that time really makes a difference, because the quality of care determines the quality of your performance, right? And so based off of this, the next step or the next issue that I see coming up, you're saying to yourself, okay, you recognize that you have a deficiency here. You need to fix yourself in this particular area here. You've taken some time to get a little bit of a vision and say, okay, well, this is the problem area that I'm going to fix. What I tend to see happening is you will next go to your primary caregiver. And you'll have a conversation with your primary caregiver, not quite able to communicate what your concerns are, and not quite able to, I'm sorry, I was fixing the light, trying to fix it. Not quite able to communicate or articulate what your needs are, and not quite able yourself to fully understand what it is that you need. And so what I see is we go to the doctor and we'll get some tests done and we'll get some scans done, which is very important. But then we usually leave it there. You will not get all of the information to say, okay, this is what my doctor said. This is what the scans say. This is what the tests say. Most people will just wait for the prognosis. Okay, doctor, so what is it that you want me to do following up? You want me to take this medicine? Boom, then we're good to go. I'm fine now. This has been taken care of. I can move on. My health is great. And now I can, move into this next era of my life. But that's not necessarily true, right? That's not necessarily how it works out. So you might have gotten your test done. You might even start to gather a circle of care around you, right? You might find other therapists that you're working with. You might, now have a conversation with a massage therapist because you have some pains in your back that you've been living with and you want to work them out. Or let's say everyone has been talking about this chiro who does these really amazing neck cracks and people are swearing by them. And so now you're going to go and visit the chiro because, this is what you heard is the best thing to do. And let's throw in a day spa, right? So you get a couple of passes to a day spa. And now you feel as though you've got things under control, right? A day spa and the gym. So you've gone to the doctor, you've gotten your test. You're using your benefits. You're going to get massages done. You've got these new processes that are in place. But the issue really is that none of this sticks. Right? None of this new mentality, this new mindset of I'm going to get these things and I've got this support here doesn't necessarily stick. Why? Because you still feel the same way. You still feel the same way. Now, how this usually plays out, what I have observed and what I have witnessed is that we will take a moment in time, right? In the middle of transitioning between one activity to another, one life project to another. And what usually tends to happen is we jump right into it. But when you take the time to visualize what your future is, and then you're making those steps, those baby steps, why is it that you're actually not able to make them stick? Why is it that every time you have gathered all the information that's needed, every single time you have, said, okay, I'm here now, I'm prepared to make the changes that are necessary. I've done the research. I understand that I need to, reduce the level of dairy that I'm eating. Maybe I need to stop eating gluten. There's all kinds of different changes. Now all of a sudden I'm going to yoga 3 times a week, and I'm going to meditate as well too. And I've started this new project, and I'm going 90 days hard, 100 days hard, and I'm 2 weeks in, and I can't seem to maintain anything. I can't seem to maintain my new eating habits. I keep reverting back to what is comfortable for me. I haven't gotten up to go to the yoga studio after the first week, and I feel bad every time I decide that I'm going to go. So I never actually make it there. And then, food wise, I just have the cravings, and I don't think that I'm able to maintain this new way of eating and this new way of being. And so I just give up and go back to my old habits. Now, if this is something that has happened to you, if you can resonate, if you feel as though you resonate with something of this, let me know. Let me know in the comments below how this looks for you. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because it's very common for us to create this ideal in our minds of what it is that we want. But it's also very common for us to not align our visions with our values. Oftentimes we don't do that. We just kind of, slap together some ideas of what we want the future to look like, what we want our house to look like, what we want our family to look like. And we wish and hope and work and faith our way into this lifestyle. But then sometimes we touch the lifestyle, or we experience the lifestyle, but it doesn't stick and it doesn't stay. And sometimes it doesn't stay because, well, maybe your actual, anger issues, you can attract these things to you, but your anger issues push the people away, right? Maybe you attract the job opportunities to you, but you have a really bad habit of being on, late, and you tend to tell off people in authority because you don't like to feel as though anybody has a control over you. And so this is a hindrance to the growth that is awaiting for you in that vision that you've set for yourself, right? So putting this together, if you have these visions for yourself that you want to achieve, that you're working towards, it's important for us to slow down a minute and understand that the person, and I've said this a couple of times, and here we're starting to see it come together, the person who you are today, the person who you got you here today is not the person who you were how many years ago or how many months ago, right? The decision that you made to start something, the decision that you made to stop something because it wasn't beneficial to you. All of this is relevant. All of this is relevant because who you were then is not who you are now, right? You could not have attracted those opportunities, the good and the not so good opportunities to you based off of who you were. You had to change and evolve. It's a must. Right. So that vision of what you're experiencing right now, who you are expressing yourself as right now, the physical, being, the emotional being, the mental being, the spiritual being, you visualized this in whatever capacity, way, shape, or form, consciously or subconsciously. You willed it. You were living in this vibrational expression and willing this to come into fruition. And so now you have arrived and you have changed and evolved. Either you've become more whiny, right? And more complacent, or you have become more bold and courageous, or you've become more independent and organized, right? To be able to assume the position and the role that you have in your life right now to serve the people in the environment that you're in. And so to move forward now, with this perspective in mind, right, we look at our baseline standard of health and we start to look at rhythm. Okay, how are we moving within our rhythm? And let's look at this vision, this new vision that we are creating for ourselves, that we are cultivating for ourselves, right? What is it that we want physically? What is it that I want to feel? What is it that I want to see? What is it that I want to hear? What is it that I want to smell, right? What is it that I want to taste? Like, we need to start putting these pieces together, because once we do that, now we start to create this new vision of where we're going and what is it, this outcome. I like to work with more outcomes rather than goals, right? Because I feel it's more nebulous, because once you've arrived at the outcome, you just kind of keep going, because you've started the new journey beyond that outcome, right? Like, what's beyond here? But in that process now, what are your values, right? What are the values of a person who has this particular lifestyle that you're working towards? What are the values of this individual who has the aesthetics that you're working towards? And it isn't just the aesthetics that you want, it's the state of being that you want, right? A healthy, joyful person, a peaceful person, a love-filled person, a person filled with laughter, a person who feels a lot of energy, a person who feels so confident in their bodies, a person who feels confident in their life, a person who knows that they're capable, right? If this is what you're aiming towards, right? Somebody who feels, that they have the ability, the capacity to go out and do the physical, exertions without feeling winded, or knowing that you're going to feel pain and discomfort, or that you're experiencing your menstrual cycle and you've had, cramps and all kinds of irregularities, and you want to, feel nothing actually. You want your cycle to show up and surprise you, right? Who do you have to become? Who do you have to become? What exactly is it that you want for yourself, right? How does that look? What are the colors? What are the feels? All the things. Turn it up. High definition, bright lights, loud sounds, like really sharp and bold angles, so that we can really experience it. But to get to that point, right? What are the values that this individual needs to espouse? What are your discipline values like? What does delayed gratification look like to you? What does reward look like to you? You know what I mean? What does rest look like? What do you need emotionally to feel fulfilled, to move forward? How do you recuperate? What does taking things personally look like to you? Do all of these things, whatever is triggering you right now, do you need to bring them forward with you? The people who are in your life, do you need to bring them forward with you? And why do you have them around you? Why do you have them around you? And the creme de la creme, why are they triggering you? And this is the cherry on top. Okay, because we have our visuals that we want, we have the visions that we're working towards, we have the future that we want, and then we have the person who we need to become. So we have these challenges and obstacles that we need to overcome or go through to get to the outcome that we're aiming towards, that we're aligning ourselves towards. But these obstacles that are here are exist because of the trigger or the root cause, right? There are things that we have done in life to cope. There are things that we have been taught in life to be able to function in society that are not necessarily beneficial. And so these things that we created as support for ourselves, as community for ourselves, as defense mechanisms, are now acting as boundaries that are stopping you from growing and expanding and experiencing. So now it's fears. I don't do this because I'm afraid of this, because, but your freedom, your joy, what it is that you're looking for is on the other side of this. So understanding the root cause as a way of moving into your vision. Okay. This is the key when it comes to visualization for yourself. And it's so important. It's so simple, and people don't do it. And you can see it in based on the quality of how they experience their celebrations, the quality and how they experience the journey, right? And how they express having arrived at their goal. Not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, but it's more so of how are you living life? How are you expressing life, right? And what are the efforts that you're putting in? And so this is what I wanted to leave you with. I want you all to consider, think about, pontificate what this looks like to you, right? As you focus on the vision that you have for yourself, this goal, this direction, this outcome, this milestone that you're moving through, but I would say more the outcome that you're working towards. When we come up to the challenges that we are faced with physically, emotionally, spiritually, in this 3D, socially, all the different things that we are faced with as we are gearing up to head towards our goal, it's important that we recognize that if we can understand the root cause, why are we perceiving these challenges? Why? What is the lesson? And not as a threat, right? When we see things as a threat, we treat it as a threat. And this is where, we will shove it to the side, push it, try to cut it off, do all the things, not realizing that all aspects work together to create a different level of integrity, to move you through the process, to bring you into the new outcome, to carry you through, right? These are the lessons. It's like people trying to, pull up dandelions. The dandelions growing in abundance around you mean that you need to do a liver detox. But we wouldn't think that. We would just think that, these are weeds, these are issues, these things are bothering me. My gosh, can they just stop? No, they're here for a reason. And if you don't deal with it now, it's going to come back later. And so I'm the person, my job, my job is to guide you, to slow down, is to guide you to pay attention so that we can make changes that will last, so that you yourself are able to, experience a more authentic process, right? Okay, so that was really the message that I wanted to come on and share with you today, to look at that and understand the keys, some deeper keys, more thorough keys to understanding yourself, to visualization your future, visualizing your next move. So I'd love for you to tap in the comments below. Let me know, what was your biggest takeaway? What are you taking away from this talk here? And yeah, I will come back. I'll comment, and I'll be back again in a couple of days to share some more thoughts and tidbits with y'all. Take care, okay? Be well.